What are they eating?
All right, guys, we're live in the studio here in Fox 5 DC Digital. Justin,
Hi.
What's up?
How are you?
We're watching the Eagle Cam in Southeast
They're
DC.
so cute. They're so cute.
These
Look
baby
at them.
eaglets are little gray fluff balls. They have grown so fast.
Yeah.
Have you seen them over the past few days?
Yeah, what are they eating?
Yesterday, guys, we had this stream on in the newsroom, and they were pulling apart this squirrel, and literally the gizzards were like coming out.
Oh my god! But
It
that's
was not
like
pleasant.
the circle of life. Doom. Right? Okay.
There you go.
Poor squirrel.
But now, you know, they're feeding, and we'll take a full screen here. We'll jump in. They're feeding on what is, you know, normal, and
They're
there's their
sleeping.
father. Yeah, they're
Is that
sleeping.
the daddy? How do you know the difference between the mama and the daddy?
I believe.
And are they still together?
Right.
These are important questions that need to be asked.
Couple things to answer about that, guys. If you didn't know, eagles actually always return to the same nest. They stay together for their lifetime.
Wow.
That's
Like the lifetime of the babies,
I believe
or like
the
to the babies
span-
get ready to fly back, or like
good questions.
What's the life?
All
I think
good
till death
questions.
do us part.
so they're married.
I think all good questions, but I think it's the lifespan of the adult eagles.
So what if like another like man flew to the nest? It was like, oh, sorry, the wrong nest. Like, what happens?
I don't
Do
know.
they fight him off?
This is a solid question.
These are all really
Are you
good.
guys eagle experts? Please respond.
For our
below.
nature,
to know.
our nature enthusiasts, our nature experts, I know you guys love this footage. We're going to keep it up, kind of at the top of
We
the
should
stream.
have a nature person here.
I know
To come
to talk about
this
it
and tell us what's happening.
People are fascinated because they were once endangered species creatures, and now, as we've been told, you know, they're coming back and
Yeah,
they're
they've been
bringing more
doing it a
life.
lot.
So it's fun to kind of watch them grow.
Yeah. This
So
is
anyway.
so cool. Look at nature.
So beautiful.
Yes.
Justin, what are you working on now? You
Work. I'm going to District
teaser?
Taco.
Oh,
I'm starving.
gonna eat.
lunchtime, guys.
It's lunchtime, so my little poor stomach. Oh, they're talking. They're talking.
They're hungry too.
What is he saying?
They're
He said, "Me
hungry.
too."
They
Can
are
he hear
hungry
me?
Too.
Ah!
Cuties. Well, we have a little bit of the natural sound up for you guys to kind of
Oh,
hear
he's
what they're,
talking to me.
what they're
Hi.
doing.
He's itching right now. No, don't do that to yourself.
Let us know what you guys think. Hey, Joan, good to see you. Anybody that's on the stream.
Hey, John.
We are Joan Morris.
Hey, Joe.
Justin visiting us from over the planning desk.
Yes, watching the eaglet.
Oh man, always good to have Justin over.
Oh, he's such a character, guys. I love him.
Our social media editor, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the
Hi,
stream.
guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. This was such a beautiful sort of video that we ended with yesterday, and I know our newsroom's been watching it for days. And it's really cool to see these guys, these little squeaker eaglet baby
Little
gray
fluff balls.
things grow so large in the past few days.
I feel like they're not missing a meal, guys, because literally, I swear they were just pink and now they're gray and fuzzy. What gives? What are you guys eating? I need a little bit of that too, I think.
They're adorable. So we'll make sure that we check in here a little bit for you guys on our
little
digital stream
screech.
today. We're going to try to be covering live stuff that's coming in. Let's flash around to some of the videos that we have coming in. Rice is here to help me out a little bit.
Because there's a lot I feel happening right now, especially if you're up in the sky. Let's squeeze on in a little.
Yeah,
okay?
come on over. So right now, let's take this sound down a little bit. We'll come back to the eaglets in a little bit. Quick look at Air Force One. This is Joint Base Andrews, guys. President Trump getting ready to go wheels up to Ohio, where he's going to be speaking at a training facility today. We'll see if we can take that speech for you live if we do get that in at an appropriate time for our stream, and we'll stay up for it. So we'll be looking for that. So that's sort of what's new in politics. President Trump speaking in Ohio today. Also, this is really cool. We have this coming in from NASA. You can tell it is a spacewalk right now from NASA. This launched at around 9:30 Eastern time this morning. This is a 6.5-hour spacewalk. These are two astronauts that are going up there to make some renovations, or do some renovations to the International Space Station.
That's awesome.
It'll be, yeah.
So it's like an upkeep work, maintenance?
Basically,
Okay.
that's sort of what I'm reading into here.
Okay.
They actually arrived at this a few days ago. We're getting this video in now. They're swapping out some high definition video cameras. Yeah, doing some maintenance on the communications
Interesting, okay.
technology up there. And they're going to be removing some stuff, adding some stuff. So doing some maintenance here. And it's pretty cool to see the live pictures and live camera from NASA. This
Gotta
is,
love technology.
Yes, this excursion is the fourth one of the year. So the fourth spacewalk of the year for NASA. And it'll be the 209th spacewalk at the I.S.S. since this orbital outpost was launched in 1998.
Oh, wow.
So a little bit of stats there for you.
Okay. How long are they up there for?
It's going to be, I believe, we just talked about this, 5 months.
5 months,
So we
guys.
won't see those two back here for 5 more months, but there they are kind of doing the work, and you can check in there. We may have a little sound too from NASA that will pop up in a little bit. So that should be going on. I believe they got started an hour later than they had planned to. So we might have this a little longer than we thought.
Interesting. But I feel like everything's been elevated and we've been on a high. Speaking of highs, Molly.
I love this transition.
Did you hear about the creator behind Blue Moon? The creator, guys, has concocted a new beer that's non-alcoholic and is made infused with weed, guys.
This is so interesting. Okay, I was reading about this. The Blue Moon creator, Blue Moon, obviously part of overarching their company in Colorado.
Yes.
But they're creating, actually, to be more specific, aren't they creating a beverage that's not technically a beer? It's non-alcoholic?
So it's given the name
it's
beer,
called a beer.
But it's a beer, but it's non-alcoholic and it's just infused with weed. So you're still going to get the same, woozy effects from it. Sans the headache, guys.
I will say this is not unlike Colorado, right?
No, absolutely not.
Of course, liberal in their marijuana laws. They were one of the first to pass it as a state. Notably on, I believe it was New Year's 2014. I only know this because I was traveling to Denver, and I was in Denver for that day, and I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
It was a big deal because it was, it was causing these people to come and bring business to these dispensaries, and it's changing the way the economy is working there, really, for the state. But that's interesting. So people are now taking that. I mean, we know about the beer craze, of course.
Absolutely.
And people are taking that and going the other direction, going with marijuana.
Right. I think they're taking two loves and just combining it into one. And my question is, what took so long for the beer lovers out there? Not to mention, how long has this been out for? Like, how long has marijuana been legal?
It's been multiple years now in Colorado, for sure. I know it's different in different states. So let us know what you guys think about that. That was kind of one of our social talkers this morning. Also, in a little more serious news, get this, guys. Today is Vietnam Veterans Day. It was enacted to commemorate the veterans, their sacrifice, the Vietnam veterans and their families. This date, March 29th, 1973, marks the final withdrawal of U.S. troops from Vietnam. Wow. So we want to thank our veterans. There's a little video that was put together for this, so I'm going to see if we can show that to give you a little scope of sort of why we celebrate this and what this is all about. But interesting there.
And if you guys follow us on Instagram, that video is also on there.
Oh, great.
It was our,
I'm gonna find
I think, most recent post that we put on there, so you guys can check it out. But we're going to try and pull it up from there. What else is going on today?
Yeah. So you got the Blue Moon thing.
We got the Blue Moon thing, guys.
Let me see if I can find this. I will say, let's show this out first, and then I want to talk a little bit more about today and what it means. But let me show you this little video, sort of explaining everything about today. Here we go, guys. So a really nice video there. We posted that on our Twitter and on our Instagram. Interesting though, it's not something you always think about. March 29th. I will say I know this date because it is my father's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, sir.
Always happy birthday to my dad on March 29th. I'll never forget that date, of course, but it's not necessarily something you think about, that this is actually one of the days to commemorate their sacrifice, because this is the drawdown day. This is the day that they made their final withdrawal. And it's I will say, as millennials, and we know sort of this generation, this culture, sometimes in school history, when you're learning stuff in high school, you go up to that point and you don't delve deep enough into the Vietnam War.
Absolutely.
I will say, I know I'm only speaking for myself, but I will say I didn't get the best sort of semester or curriculum on that, because we were covering all the other big stuff, focusing on a lot of things, and there's just so much history to cover now. You wonder sort of what they focus on in schools. I would love to know, where they start for the younger generations. Absolutely. I know this one is one that is definitely worth delving into and sometimes overlooked and not studied enough.
I think so too. I agree, but I just, agreeing with that one, I feel like there was a lot of focus on World War I, II, but just like vaguely remembering, not much on Vietnam, because then we would transition to other things. But just thinking about it, World War I and II, we definitely covered with intensity, and like it was covered thoroughly. But yeah, I wonder now how it is.
Same.
You know, how they teach and how do they pick.
Same, because I was just thinking that if you guys agree, let me know. This now in this generation, I mean, we're all in these different separate chunks, right? And now, whereas we were teens when 9/11 happened, now that's a huge historical moment for young kids who have never even heard of that or don't even know it. They've been, they're born not knowing it. They look back in the history books. So it's a different way of teaching now. You wonder sort of what is focused on and what is taught and then what is glossed over.
Right.
It's just kind of interesting to think about. But this date makes me think about that because you're seeing all those facts on that little video and on that screen, and it's stuff that you're like, oh wow, I didn't have that ingrained in my memory because it's something that isn't as deeply in there. I haven't studied it as deeply.
I agree. But
not that I agree with that, and I simply kind of regret that. I wish I had known more about it, but definitely something to remember. Speaking of that, guys, here's a look in Marine One. As we said, President on his way to Ohio, so they're getting ready to go wheels up from Joint Base Andrews, right around here, right close by.
Yeah.
So that's a live look there. Other than that, guys, we're hanging out in our newsroom. It's Thursday, March 29th. We want to welcome you to the stream. If you're new, welcome. If you are just jumping through and looking for some news stories, welcome. Subscribe to our channel if you would like. We are on YouTube on the daytimes here. We go up for some special streams on the weekends, depending on some events. And we're happy to bring you guys just live footage of whatever's coming in and interesting stuff. I want to say also, we were just talking about Blue Moon, the beer company.
Speaking of Blue Moon,
Speaking of Blue Moon, this is so funny because I was looking into space stuff and what's going on because I love science and NASA and like all that stuff. And actually, guys, interestingly, this weekend is I just had it. There's going to be a Blue Moon, and it's the last one until 2020. The Blue Moon being the 2 full moons in the 1 full moon cycle. So
all
like
these
a 4-week
unique
cycle.
moons that you'll never see again for years, or like, oh, you'll see them again in 50 years.
Yeah.
So I love taking advantage of those moments, and the photographers that capture them. Oh my
They're
gosh,
beautiful. They're so
gorgeous. Absolutely.
It's the last full moon of 2018, and it's
2018.
and you have to wait till 2020 to even see the next one. So it's funny because I used to think that these were actually less rare than people said, but now this is kind of rare, like 2 years away.
I think so.
So speaking of Blue Moon, actual Blue Moon, there's just so many connects in my head right now. I'm like linking all our stories together, but
so much Blue Moon happening, guys.
oh my goodness. We're looking forward to baseball season. Opening day for the Nats is next Thursday, April 5th. Here, home opener, that is. Okay. Opening day for the Nats. Away is tomorrow. They postponed it because of rain in Cincinnati. Today is opening day for the Orioles. So we actually have, if you can see him walking by kind of in the background, guys, barely, there he is in the orange. Jerome, one of our producers, has this big orange blazer on. He's from Baltimore. He's representing Orioles. So that's exciting. We're getting on with spring, hopefully getting on with baseball season. Looking forward to that.
I would say yes with the spring because aren't we getting like 70 degrees today?
That too. If you're in the DMV area, look forward to the awesome weather today. I think it's slated to be in the 70s. Don't miss out on the outdoors. You know that we're going to be in the newsroom here, but enjoy it for us. I wish we could be out there. When the weather does roll around, I'm sure we're going to be out there getting some more video and stuff for social.
I think so, because then that gives us an opportunity to actually go out and speak with people. So we'll probably think of some cool ideas, and we'll obviously share it on here. And then once this is done, you can catch us on Instagram. So we'll devise up a plan and share with you guys.
Yeah. So we'll be flashing around to some of our videos today. Eagle Cam, the NASA spacewalk, whatever else comes in that's breaking, guys. You never know what's going to prop up. I know that President Trump is speaking later in the afternoon, so we'll see if we get his remarks. And other than that, we'll just be looking out for whatever is live for you guys. Yeah. Coming up on our stream.
And you have any suggestions? Drop a line in the comment section, because we're always looking for cool things to cover also. So if you see anything that you're like, hey, Molly, Rice, I'd love for you girls to talk about this, send them, please. Yeah, we're open to ideas.
Contact us on anything, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're on everything, Fox 5 DC. And we're going to give you a quick glimpse of the president jumping up and leaving for his trip, and then we'll jump over to the NASA spacewalk, guys. We'll see you soon.
Washburn and Emily Nelson, just as you said. Tom is an astronaut, and you have done 2 space flights and 4 spacewalks yourself. And Emily, as a flight director, you have led 6 space flights and actually led 5 spacewalks as a flight director. So thanks so much for being with us, and please send in your questions. I'm watching them on Facebook Live. We have a lot of people watching from all over the world, and we're excited you're here with us and excited to have you guys here to answer some questions. So first of all, could you tell us a little bit about what the astronauts are doing today on their spacewalk?
Well, from a big picture perspective, there are several different items that we're trying to get either installed or fixed on the outside of the space station. The first thing that Drew took care of for us was installing some Wi-Fi antennas. They're embedded into some of the handles that you see the crew members use to get around on the outside. And that's so that we can expand Wi-Fi on the outside of the space station, which is used by a number of science experiments. It's also used by our high definition cameras. So expanding that network is pretty important to our future science campaigns. Then we are retrieving a couple of jumpers that we found to be leaking in an EVA last spring. So we're going to bring those home, take a look at them, replace them on a future EVA. And let's see, then we're going to replace a pan and tilt unit on a camera that allows the ground to move the camera around so that we can get really good high def shots of the outside of the space station.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, maybe for you, Tom, we want to know, how hard is it to do a spacewalk on your body from Lindsay? What's the effect on your body?
The effect on the body? Well, it's quite interesting, actually. You're in a low-pressure environment, 4.2 psi. It's 100% oxygen. So that's a bit of a physiologic stress on the body. But what you really feel is the fatigue that builds up over the spacewalk time. They'll be there 5, 6, maybe 7 hours out there working pretty hard, working with their hands quite a bit. And also the temperature changes. When you see it go dark in the camera, they might start to get chilled, even to the point to where their teeth are chattering. And when you see the sunlight out, they could even break into a sweat. So those temperature changes back and forth add to the fatigue. The great thing is with the training and with the view and knowing where you are and what you're doing, you don't notice that usually until you get back inside.
Thanks. All right, we have a question from Christy. Her kindergarten class wants to know what they had for breakfast. So do the astronauts usually eat before a spacewalk?
Well, it depends on the astronaut. I don't know exactly what they had on their menu, but they probably had a lot of it, whatever it was. They can't bring any food inside the spacesuit with them. So they do have water, about 32 ounces of water. But they almost certainly had a very big breakfast. I suspect they've got some meat, they've got some scrambled eggs, they've got some oatmeal and lots of fluids. That's probably what they had.
Thank you. All right, Brianna wants to know, how do I become an astronaut?
Well, we start right now, actually. Start being an astronaut today, and that means taking care of yourself, working hard in school, putting yourself into positions where you have to make decisions that have consequences, do all those things. And then when the time comes to apply, which is you need to have a college degree, you need to have either a graduate degree or about 3 or 4 years of work after college, just roughly equivalent to that. And then you fill out a government application, just like if you're applying for any government job. And after that, it's just a step-by-step process.
All right. And Emily, what about being a flight director? I think we have a special opportunity right now.
So a lot of the first steps are very similar, getting involved in science and mathematics early on, getting a good foundation in kind of engineering principles so that you are ready to make decisions about technological changes. And then we also require a college degree and some work experience after college. The difference perhaps is that we also require expertise or experience in high-stress decision-making environments as well. Traditionally, that's been here in mission control, but any high-stress decision-making environment would make you eligible.
Thanks. And if you look a little further down on our Facebook post, if you're on our International Space Station Facebook page now, you will see some posts about being a flight director. So that opportunity is available now, and you can get more information there. All right. From Jeffrey, is there anything you can compare to what being weightless feels like?
Boy, that's tough to do, although when I was a child, I would go into the swimming pool, hold my breath, and kind of float around at the bottom of the pool and pretend to be weightless. So swimming, scuba diving as well, those are great things. In terms of the technical skill required, a lot of astronauts have taken up flying as a hobby, rock climbing, that sort of thing. All of those things combined, I think, give you a feeling for what doing a spacewalk is like.
Thank you. All right, for both of you guys, from Manish, how does the research in space help prepare to send humans on a journey to Mars and beyond?
It's every day we're learning, even during the spacewalk, we are learning techniques to make all of working in space safer and more efficient. Having said that, the laboratory, of course, is a full-up national laboratory suite full of experiments where we're not only learning a lot of basic science principles that could very well affect not only our lives, but space flight, a decade, 2 decades, 50 years into the future. We're also learning very specific things. There are carbon dioxide removal systems we're testing out to make sure when we're going to Mars that one of those doesn't fail on us. There's water recovery systems. Pretty much everything on the space station is something that we're evaluating for future space flight.
And of course, we're doing research on the astronauts themselves. We experiment with different levels of exercise and different diets and all of the different things that we need to understand in a little better detail to make sure that we keep our astronauts safe and healthy for the long journeys to Mars and back.
All right, thanks. We have another question about, they've noticed that it looks really dark outside, almost pitch black when the astronauts are in the dark today. So people are wondering if you can see stars when you're on a spacewalk.
A little bit tough to do that, only because your eyes have to adjust. But if you get the opportunity to do that, yes, you can start to see stars. What's interesting is that they don't twinkle from space. And also the planets you can see quite well. Little solid discs of red, say, if you're looking at Mars. What really grabs you, though, is the view of the Earth. Even at night, where you see forest fires almost anytime you look at the Earth at night, but certainly the city lights can certainly grab your attention while you're working.
All right. We have a couple questions coming in that want to know about training for spacewalks. So can you talk a little bit about how the astronauts train for spacewalks?
Yeah, well, one of the important things is working with Emily Nelson, our flight director in the flight control team, knowing how the flight control team works, how the whole team comes together to make a space flight work or a spacewalk work. Astronauts will spend a lot of time in the gym as well. Upper body strength, the strength in general, fitness is extremely important for that. But pretty much all of our training, even the homework, the book work, getting very good at working with tools. If your hobby is to do car repair, that helps a lot. And so we all kind of gravitate towards those kinds of things to get us ready for a spacewalk.
And then when it comes time to execute a specific spacewalk, we uplink all kinds of educational materials specific to the pieces of hardware that they're going to be touching. So we have a computer system on board that can kind of let them fly through the spacewalk that they're going to be doing to get familiar with how they're going to get from one place to another and the different navigation paths that they might take. So our teams here on the ground will spend a lot of time putting together a good informational briefing, because frequently they'll train generically on the ground, but they may not get to see the specific tasks that they're going to actually do in space, and we'll do that kind of preparation after they're already there.
All right, thank you. And from the flight director side, is there anything special that you need to do to prepare to lead a spacewalk?
Oh, absolutely. We follow along with a great deal of the training that we do in the neutral buoyancy lab up the street, all of the training that the astronauts do. And again, if we aren't training the astronauts on board specifically for a task, if we don't know about it far enough in advance, we'll follow along with the astronauts on the ground that perform what we call development runs, or check out that the timelines are good. We also work with our teams to work through all of the malfunctions that could potentially happen, whether that's a bolt that doesn't want to get installed properly and we need to figure out what our backup plans are. I mean, we're NASA, we have a lot of backup plans. So we spend a lot of time together with the ground team just building those backup plans, practicing those backup plans, and getting ready to go.
All right, thanks. And we are here in the mission control room, and we have some people asking where the space station is right now. Where are the astronauts flying over that they are doing the spacewalk? So we do have a map behind us.
Of Russia.
Yeah, they're right over Russia.
And it looks like we're actually flying right over Russia, so just so you guys know. All right. Another question about what happens if you were to become untethered? How does the tether work?
So that's something at the top of our minds all the time. Safety first, and staying tethered to the station obviously is very important. So we have this braided steel cable that's an anchor for us that's always keeping us attached to the space station, and it feeds out through kind of like a fishing reel. You might see it in some of the video. It floats up in the view of the camera every now and then. don't want to have to rely on that, of course. So if the astronauts ever have to work hands-free, take their hands off a handrail, then we have a call a local tether, one more tether that we can attach to the station.
All right, guys, making a quick switch because we just lost that on NASA, unfortunately, but back to this Eagle cam. This is crazy. You can see the mom and the dad both in the nest. They have dragged in a fish. They are excellent hunters, obviously. And that's just a great shot right there of the family. Check it out for just a minute, and then we're going to jump over to the Pentagon, where the chief spokesperson there is going to be giving an update very shortly. A press briefing of the Pentagon coming up live.
It means, and there's some who in the military who might be male who identify female or vice versa, who say that because of that ambiguity, that they are taking it as a don't ask, don't tell sort of approach, that if they identify one way or the other, that because of the ambiguity in this policy, that it is best that they do not say what gender they identify with. Is that an accurate conclusion that one should draw from this memo if you're a currently serving member of the military who may identify in a different sex?
What one can assume is that right now the Department of Defense is retaining transgender service members because we are under 4 court orders. That is what you can assume. Beyond that, this is pending litigation.
Right, but what I guess what I'm asking is, in an organization of 2 million personnel, clear personnel policies is critical, and I'm just trying to understand if you're a transgender service member, if you're a male who identifies female or vice versa, going forward until this is settled legally, that you should not reveal what gender you identify with.
That is up to an individual. What I can tell you.
But I'm asking what the personnel policy is for this department.
The personnel policy of this department is that we continue to allow and assess and retain transgender individuals. That is the state in which we are. 4 court orders.
And if I were to come out and identify as a different gender, would that threaten my ability to serve right now in the U.S.
I'm not going to deal with hypotheticals. Way in the back.
Going back to the transgender, sorry. What I don't understand, why, if it's so important, the litigation issue, why haven't your department waited until litigations are over? There has been any kind of pressure from the White House? Why not wait until everything is clear, until the courts have made a decision, whether it's constitutional or not? And I have a second question on the budget, but please.
Well, because one, there was a memo. The president requested the secretary provide a recommendation, and that was very transparent. And so now we are in this process, and we're going to see it through. We've provided the documents, we provided the recommendation, and we remain under the court orders.
What's the sense of providing any recommendation if the final decision is going to depend on the courts anyway? I mean, if it's unconstitutional, which could happen, your recommendation would make no sense anyway. Maybe it would have been better to find out which is exactly the problem before telling the White House, how to deal with it.
This is the process. And more on the process, I would have to refer you to the Department of Justice. This is current litigation, and this is where we are. Lucas.
My second question on the budget, which is really the border wall. You were saying that Secretary Mattis is really focused on defending the Americans, but my understanding is that American security in U.S. soil. It has nothing to do with the Department of Defense, or it has more to do with the Department of Homeland Security. So why ask the Department of Defense? Because the idea that people outside this whole business are getting is that Trump, the president, has fight for you to have an increase of your funds, but then so he can use it for what he wants, which is not exactly the military.
I think it's important to understand that the president and the secretary talk about a variety of subjects. This was one of them. And I don't have any more details for you. Tom.
Conversation that you just referred to and earlier, and I realize they have a lot of conversations, but when did they talk about this concept that you brought up about the money from the defense budget for the wall? Was it before the president sort of tweeted about it and made publicly his musings on this thought, or was it after the president did that? And I have a follow-up on another topic.
I don't know about the exact timing. Again, the president and the secretary talk frequently, but I can confirm that they have spoken about it, but I don't have any other details about it.
Follow on this transgender thing without, I want to get clear on one thing, please. When and if there's court action that involves the Justice Department and DOD, will it be a Justice Department individual who will then explain the DOD memo that we're referring to here and what it means? In other words, if there are questions, does this mean this, as raised by some of my colleagues here, will it be a Justice Department person who's explaining that?
Yes, so it will be Justice in the lead. Lucas.
Does the president's pick to be the next VA secretary have to leave the Navy before assuming the job?
So this happened yesterday, and so I don't have any details with respect to that. But when we have some more details, I'll certainly share. But again, it happened yesterday.
Does Secretary Mattis have confidence that Rear Admiral Jackson can do the job successfully?
We have confidence in the secretary, in the president's pick. I don't know how familiar the secretary is with the doctor, but he has, it's the president's pick, and it's for the president to determine who serves in his cabinet.
Was the secretary surprised by the name?
The secretary is not surprised by much. So no, he was not surprised, and he was fully supportive of having Undersecretary Wilkie serve in the interim.
Ma'am, we have time for a few more questions.
How about Korea? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dana. I like you. On the exercise of the withdrawing U.S. forces, Korea, family members, and the Americans in the South Korea to the United States, do we have anything on that? They're going to evacuate the U.S. citizens from Korea. Why?
I don't have any information on that. We stay very vigilant. As the Secretary had said earlier, as these talks go on, we want the people who are involved in those talks to lead them. But we remain cautiously optimistic about developments. Tony.
You started off reading a memo that the Secretary put out the other day about the peerless stewardship of tax dollars. What prompted the memo? Is he concerned that potential overspending may occur on desks and travel and odds and ends that have occurred at HUD and EPA and other places, and he wants to nip that kind of thinking in the bud?
What prompted it is the passage. It got overwhelming bipartisan support, and therefore we're grateful for the increase. I mean, it's $700 billion and it's 716. So we're grateful for the increase, and he knows and he wants to ensure that this department is focused on meeting our performance, making sure the warfighter has what they need. He wants us to have budget discipline. He mentions that. It is a call to action that we're all responsible for this money. This has been entrusted to us, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we maximize every dollar.
Is he going to take any additional steps, like maybe greater oversight of some key weapons programs or service contracts where he will put his imprint on potential contracts that may or may not seem overspending?
Well, I will tell you that the Secretary and the Deputy talk frequently with the service secretaries about how are we going to ensure performance. We are instilling a culture of performance. I think the biggest change we'll see is the fact that you do have now 2 unders, one with with Secretary Lord dealing with sustainment, and you have Mike Griffith dealing in future in research and engineering. That's a key point because then we have greater accountability for those capabilities. So now you have 2 individuals who that is their sole focus. So we are infusing accountability, we are infusing responsibility. So that was the purpose and the reason and what prompted his desire to put out that memo. Jeff.
I was just going to ask about Undersecretary Wilkie. His portfolio included the close combat lethality portfolio. Who takes that on now?
So acting Principal Deputy Undersecretary Kurta will be there in his stead. All right.
And is Mr. Wilkie there today at VA? Did he actually start the job as interim?
He will start on Monday. I haven't gotten to this side. Corey.
The Secretary talks a lot about keeping his recommendations to the President private. Was it the Pentagon's decision or the White House's decision to release the memo of his transgender recommendation?
Well, again, as this is in litigation, when it was filed, it became public. So by all means, we want to provide you, and we did as quickly as we could. When it was released, we provided it online.
And then do you have any update at all on the Niger investigation? Has the family's been notified at this point of anything?
I don't have any updates. The Secretary is still reviewing it, and we will let you know. As first, the notifications of the families, then to Congress, and then we will let you all know. Thank you all very, very much.
All right, guys, so sort of a brief surprise Pentagon briefing there from Dana White, the spokesperson, of course, talking about the new or ongoing, rather, transgender policy that the president has been espousing. Let's go on to some top stories of the day, some of the top packages that are coming in from our Fox News Network and our sister stations across the country.
Cosby is set to stand trial again in just 5 days, and with 5 women this time, including supermodel Janice Dickinson, ready to take the stand against him.
Have 5 women with similar stories, because remember, their stories have to be relatively similar in order for them to be allowed to testify.
It's one of several differences in the courtroom this time around that attorney Joseph Marone doesn't think bodes well. Last trial, the judge only allowed 1 additional victim to corroborate Andrea Constand's allegations.
They're going to come in and tell their story similar to the victim in question, saying, listen, I was with this man, he used some form of a drug, whether it be Quaalude or something else, and he had unconsensual sex with me. The story's consistent. Jury pool looks at it and says, hey, if they're all saying it, it must be true.
Also new will be Cosby's defense team. It's out with local attorney Brian McMonigal and end with high-profile celebrity attorney Tom Mesereau, who defended Michael Jackson in a child molestation trial and won. Marone thinks it sends the wrong message to conservative Montgomery County.
They made a decision to get a national celebrity attorney, believing that that was going to somehow have a better effect on the outcome of the trial.
This trial is also happening during the #MeToo movement, which Marone says everyone knows about, including potential jurors. Cosby is the first celebrity to face trial in the Time's Up era, and if he's convicted, he'd be the first to stand before a judge.
And the question is he going to sentence him according to that specific crime, or is he going to send a message, not only locally, but nationally to everyone? And is he going to pay the price?
Bill Cosby is set to stand trial again in just 5 days.
People angry about the Stephon Clark shooting take to the streets of Sacramento. You shoot us down! Large crowds again block traffic, calling for accountability in the Sacramento Police Department. Activists are demanding criminal charges for the 2 officers who fired 20 shots at Clark. Police had been responding to reports of someone breaking car windows. They saw Clark in a backyard thinking he was the suspect holding a gun. Shot after shot was fired, killing the young father, but the gun turned out to be a cell phone.
Does this look like a gun? Does this look like a gun?
The March 18th shooting has sparked heated protests across the country. There were minor clashes between demonstrators and New York City police on Wednesday night. Sacramento officials say people have a right to express their grief, but what happened at the city council meeting this week with Clark's brother jumping on desks and yelling in the mayor's face, they say cannot happen again.
We don't want one of our council members or our mayor assaulted during a crowd, and that was my worry.
Mayor Steinberg wants the community's response to be a turning point for Sacramento.
If we choose healing and hailing change instead of division and despair, that we can not only get through this, we can be the better for it.
Stephon Clark will be buried later today. The funeral is open to the public. Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. In Los Angeles, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
The bar here for happy hour at Jeff's Tyson's Corner is hopping, but would it be even more busy if the law was changed? Well, Chef Jeff Tracy thinks so. Here's a look at his menu. You can see some specialty pricing, $7 for wine, $7.50 for certain cocktails. This information is only available inside the walls of these restaurants. It cannot be advertised or posted on social media anywhere other than right here, and that's what he wants to change.
So if I do a sort of blanket email or a blanket advertisement on the radio or on television, I am sort of really in a gray area if I'm talking about happy hour pricing sort of generically amongst the entire Chef Jeff restaurant group.
In Virginia, happy hour is defined as a time period where certain alcoholic drinks are sold at a reduced price. But bars and restaurants are very restricted in how they can advertise. They're only allowed to use the terms happy hour or drink specials. They can't put anything specific out there when it comes to prices or discount amounts. There are no such restrictions in D.C. or Maryland. Chef Jeff Tracy has restaurants in all three areas. He's long been battling what he calls archaic Prohibition-era laws in Virginia and says this battle has come to a lawsuit. The Pacific Legal Foundation, a public interest law firm, is representing him pro bono.
Might have different types of food, but like it's prices that matter. You know, there's two taco places across the street from each other. You're going to go to the cheaper one. Tacos are tacos.
We work in a corporate environment, so having the ability to know what is our price point and where should we plan on being this day or that day makes the plan, and it would definitely add to a restaurant's bottom line being able to advertise it.
I should be able to use the words half price wine night. I should be able to use like Friday fun day, but I can't. I can only use happy hour and drink specials, and I can't tell you what the price is of any single one of my alcoholic beverages that I serve during happy hour. And that is absurd, and it doesn't make any sense.
Again, he says it's a violation of First Amendment rights, and if he's successful, this would benefit any Virginia bar that offers drink specials and wants to be able to advertise them. Now, I reached out to the Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Authority, and they said that they cannot comment on pending litigation, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. In Tyson's Corner, Lauren DeMarco, Fox 5 Local News.
They marched and marched some more, 3 days of marching to push for new gun laws.
Enough is enough.
Dozens of students completed the 50 miles more trek from Madison, Wisconsin, ending in Janesville, House Speaker Paul Ryan's hometown. They set out on Sunday, sleeping in different schools along the way. At each mile, students posted information online about different teenagers killed in recent gun violence. It's no coincidence the march ended in the backyard of Washington's top Republican lawmaker.
If you don't listen, Paul, your reign will surely fall.
Paul Ryan is overseas in the Czech Republic, but students suggest he come back quick and start listening, or they say he'll be out of a job.
If Paul Ryan Biden and other politicians refuse, then we will take our voices to the voting booths in November.
A Paul Ryan spokesperson says the speaker respects anyone expressing their personal view. He also noted the recent House passage of, quote, new laws to keep children safe without infringing on constitutional rights. The school safety bill focuses on campus safety and threat assessment training for school faculty. The students acknowledge the school safety measures, but they want legislation on guns, bans on assault rifles and bump stocks, plus a 4-day waiting period for all gun purchases. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
The HPV vaccine, originally approved and marketed for women,
the vaccines came out as cervical cancer vaccines, and if you don't have a cervix, that seems less attractive to you.
turns out to be just as important for men.
This is an HPV vaccine, it's a cancer vaccine. Those are the points to make for them.
Dr. Chris Belcher tells me HPV can lead to mouth, throat, cervical, and anal cancers, affecting both genders.
It's a virus that's spread person to person by close transmission. It doesn't even need to be intercourse. Interrupting that transmission is very important.
According to a new study that surveyed teens from 13 to 17 years of age, 65% of girls started the vaccine course by that age, compared to only 56% of boys in the same age range. And the study says healthcare providers might be partially to blame. Parents of boys who participated in the survey say their doctors never even brought it up as an option. Dr. Belcher believes healthcare providers should broaden that conversation.
We're trying to prevent cancer in your boys as well as others, and we're already seeing the beneficial effects of this vaccine.
The National Cancer Institute says there are no serious adverse effects to this vaccination.
If it was a breast cancer or a colon cancer vaccine, I think there'd be a much better uptake. It's just the word that it came out from HPV and it's to prevent cervical cancer that really put people off. We have a cancer vaccine here that works and we should use it.
I'm Alexis McAdams, CBS 4 News.
Boyd McIntyre was out for a drive with his wife when he witnessed the paraglider's equipment malfunction. That's when his instincts kicked in. He drove to this trail, hiked 30 minutes in this steep terrain to get to the glider.
This video from Salt Lake County Search and Rescue shows the glider being lowered to safety. The accident happened just after 5:30 Tuesday evening. He suffered some serious injuries, including broken bones and a concussion. Boyd McIntyre, who saw it all happen, is a paraglider himself. He knew he had to act fast to help in any way possible.
It was scary, the first collapse. I saw him recover that, so I thought he was going to make it out of there, and then I saw the second one, and he disappeared, and obviously my heart sank a little bit.
Salt Lake County Search and Rescue says McIntyre played a big role in this rescue. He and his wife were both honored with medals for their life-saving efforts.
Coming up at 5, we'll hear from Salt Lake County Search and Rescue on how they were able to bring this paraglider to safety. In Salt Lake City, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Closer to the sun than ever before, NASA scientists are putting the finishing touches on the Parker solar probe before the spacecraft is shipped to Cape Canaveral Saturday, ahead of its mission to touch the sun, blasting off in July.
She has a huge kind of custom-built shipping container, and we will put her on a C-17, and she will fly down to Cape Kennedy.
After months of testing, the probe will be off to space. It will fly around Venus 7 times to get itself into orbit around the sun in December 2024. Scientists anticipate it will circle the star 24 times. The Parker solar probe will have to face brutal heat, around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and radiation as it nears the sun. But how is it built to withstand those conditions?
They have this carbon composite heat shield that protects all of the instruments on the backside. There is one instrument that peeks out and does measure directly the solar corona, the atmosphere of the sun.
The data collected will be sent back to Earth about 89 million miles away and hopefully help scientists determine why the sun's atmosphere, or corona, is hotter than its surface. The Parker solar probe blasts off July 31st and is expected to provide us with the first ever close-up view of the sun. And it could potentially lead to some unprecedented discoveries.
Every observation we are going to make is a potential discovery.
Do you want to be a part of the mission to touch the sun? Well, you can submit your name to be included in a memory card that will fly aboard the spacecraft. Online submissions must be completed by April 27th. In Las Vegas, Andrew Kraft, Fox News.
You may be surprised to learn two things if you're over the age of 30. Kids these days start reading at 3 years old. Pre-K classes are teaching reading, and these 3 to 12-year-old kids here at West End Elementary in Woodbury read 10,000 books in a deal with their principal.
And yes, we do have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in our pre-K program in the early stages of reading.
And these aren't just picture books.
They are reading. They're reading the words in print, making the connections between the pictures and the text, and doing phenomenal work.
And a second surprise is kids in this high-tech world of laptops, iPads, tablets, and smartphones still are reading good old-fashioned books.
It's actually better because when we read on the Chromebooks, a lot of people are going on different websites, and it's better to read regular books than just have something written on a Chromebook. And I think it has more meaning if you're doing it on a real book.
So books aren't going out of style like I feared.
No, they are not. Not in my world, they're not.
And so to keep his end of the West End Elementary deal, Principal Vincent Myers agreed to kiss a pig. But 12-year-old Angel Lezer was kind of disappointed when he saw little Rosebud.
I think the pig's going to be really big.
Well, I'm going to give away the surprise. It's only a little 20-pound pig. They didn't bring a big farm pig.
Oh.
That doesn't count then, does it?
Yeah.
He needs to kiss like a big, like 300-pound regular big sloppy farm pig, all muddy, right?
Yeah.
This is like a pet pig. This shouldn't even count.
I know.
They have been motivated all year long. When are you kissing the pig? Every single day that we're here, kindergarten students, first grade students, everybody. When are you kissing the pig? When are you kissing the pig?
So poor little Rosebud was more guinea pig than baby farm pig, having 385 kids screaming their lungs out as she was brought up on stage to seal the book deal with a kiss.
I am excited seeing him kissing a pig, but not a pet one.
This shouldn't count then. I mean, he should have a big, fat, muddy farm pig.
Yeah.
And he should get like mud on his face even.
Yeah.
In Woodbury, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
President Trump hasn't made a public appearance since Friday, ever since adult film actress Stormy Daniels claimed on TV the two had an affair. But today we're expecting him to emerge from seclusion in an effort to pitch his infrastructure plan that seems stalled in Congress.
Following on the success of tax reform, infrastructure is the next piece of the president's successful economic agenda.
President Trump is moving on, today traveling to Ohio to tout his administration's plan to overhaul the nation's aging roads and bridges, visiting a trade union representing heavy equipment operators.
These workers represent the hardworking Americans across the country who will participate in the rebuilding of our nation's infrastructure, sparked from the president's vision, and it will definitely be worth tuning in to see the president lay out that vision.
Trump's appearance in the battleground state, coming as the infrastructure proposal he formally unveiled in February, is now stalled in Congress. Democrats arguing it doesn't include enough federal dollars and puts too much financial burden on individual states.
Would it lay out the massive direct investment America needs? Quite simply, the answer is no. Not even close.
House Speaker Paul Ryan taking to Twitter to urge support, saying improvements to our nation's infrastructure are long overdue. Yet the president is expected to make the case that his plan will mean significant job growth. A recent report from the White House Council of Economic Advisors forecasting the $1.5 trillion plan will add between 290,000 to 414,000 jobs over a decade.
But if all of the president's policies are enacted, the policy inclusive forecast is that we'll have real GDP growth of about 3% a year.
With lawmakers shifting their focus to getting reelected in November, there is little expectation Congress will take up a sweeping infrastructure proposal. Instead, House Speaker Ryan says he plans to move an infrastructure overhaul package in multiple bills, a strategy the White House has said it supports. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Okay, so a quick little rundown there of today's top stories from some of our packages around the country and some of our sister stations as well. How cool, first of all, is that NASA probe story, the one where it's going to touch the sun? I thought that was super interesting. Of course, any of you science geeks or nerds out there who like that stuff, appreciate that, and appreciate our Eagle cam that we still have going up, guys, courtesy of Earth Conservation Corps. This is in Southeast DC, overlooking the Anacostia River. Love looking at this little family. We don't have anything live right now coming in, but when we do have the president's remarks on infrastructure from Ohio, we'll make sure that we try to bring that to you live. It's later on in the afternoon. That was what Caroline Shively's package was just saying about President Trump departing this morning, where we saw from Air Force One to Ohio with his daughter Ivanka Trump. She was on there as well. So let's jump over to our favorite little Eagle family, guys. We'll give you a glimpse of this until we have some other breaking pictures coming in for us on this Thursday, March 29th. Take a look. Well, guys, thanks for sticking on with us here. We're happy to have you on our stream here on Fox 5 Live on this Thursday, March 29th. Obviously, the Bald Eagles doing their thing and doing well in Southeast D.C. That's their nest, overlooking the Anacostia River. Kind of a cool view of D.C. And you get to kind of experience the weather, too, with some of that natural sound, some of the wind, what's going on down there. And it's interesting, you know, you're learning, all of us in the newsroom that are enthralled with this video, we're learning so much about eagles and how they are as parents and how they are really as animals in the wild and nature, and how, of course, over the past multiple years, they have been considered endangered animals. Now they're coming back in larger surging of births and eggs for eaglets. So we know that they're less endangered than they once were, or they're perhaps off the list completely, I believe. But anyway, we'll kind of flash in and out of the family. I think that's what we have of interest today. Unfortunately, not a lot of stuff thrown around right now in video-wise, but we do have President Trump landing very shortly in Cleveland. Here's a live look on the tarmac there. He is speaking sort of at the end of this hour, towards the end of the 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time hour, on his infrastructure plan. He'll be doing that from Cleveland. This is a live kind of bump shot right there of Cleveland, Ohio, where he'll be landing shortly. So we will attempt to take those remarks, of course, live for you on our stream. We'll also have them on our Facebook page towards the end of this hour. He's delivering remarks at the Richfield Training Facility in Richfield, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. So that's what we got mainly going on for you guys. If you didn't catch earlier, there was a quick Pentagon briefing earlier on in the day that we took live. And then also the NASA spacewalk, of course, which is quite interesting, the fourth one of this year. And there was a whole sort of program. They answered a bunch of questions and the like. So always interesting stuff with NASA, sending up a couple astronauts for about 5 months to make some reparations on the I.S.S. International Space Station up there. So for now, we're going to wait for this arrival. We'll bring you over there live, make sure that you get a glimpse of that. You have a nice little look at our newsroom today as we're hustling and bustling here on this Thursday, the 29th. And very happy that spring is around the corner. Some warmer days in our future today and tomorrow. And we'll take you back to that nest and then give you a live look of President Trump as he lands, and then over to his remarks at the facility later on today. All right, guys, a live look here on the ground of Air Force One as President Trump is about to land here in advance of his remarks to a training facility in Richfield, Ohio. He'll be touting his infrastructure proposal, his plan. Looks like he'll be coming off the plane very shortly. Again, just a little background on this. He's going to be addressing a crowd of machine operators and equipment operators and the like, mechanics and engineers at this training site to put the spotlight on those type of workers who would benefit from this $1.5 trillion spending proposal. And that'll be his speech today. So he'll be remarking on infrastructure as part of his, what he touts as his successful economic agenda. And of course, bringing it to the people of Ohio, the hardworking facilities of Ohio. This is outside of Cleveland, Ohio, where he is just about to land. So take a look at this live look here of the plane and his arrival. I know he left with Ivanka Trump, so she'll be there with him, as well as some other people, I think, as well, when we saw that departure earlier this morning. And yeah, take it all in, guys, here. This is Air Force One. He'll be speaking in less than an hour in Cleveland, or in the Cleveland area in Richfield, Ohio. Again, bringing his infrastructure message to the people of Ohio. All right, guys, it looks like it is raining in this area right in Cleveland. Here is the president and his daughter depart the plane. Of course, they are on their way to Richfield, Ohio, where we'll see them, the president, speak very shortly on his infrastructure proposal, that plan, a $1.5 trillion plan, a proposal that he's been touting, and he will, of course, do the same today to this sort of faction of people, these mechanics and workers and operators of this training facility here in Ohio. So we'll be looking out for that very shortly. When we get that video up, we'll bring you over there live. All right, guys, not to stay too stagnant on this shot, but we have President Trump arriving, and Schulte, I totally missed if it was Tiffany Trump. I actually don't quite know if it was his other daughter. I missed that sort of angle, but you can see the camera just trying to get the whole scope of this as the president arrives. So I want to just change up shots a little bit to give you some other stuff that we're looking at today. Of course, we still got the Eagle Cam going on. I can see that dead fish carcass in the corner of that nest. You can see it right there. We'll come back to this eagle, of course, at the end, so we can at least touch base there. But before the president goes on to speak and before we take that live, let's go down to one of our sister stations in Florida is covering an incident where a man was armed with a heavy-duty military-style rifle, of course, with all the gun and pull for gun legislation in our current time right now. This is a big issue. UCF, University of Central Florida, officials are apparently speaking regarding an incident of a man armed with this type of weapon. I don't quite know what happened with this incident, but this is a live camera. It's kind of close up, but I want to kind of listen in to hear what happened with this, I believe, reported international student that was somehow armed with this type of gun. Let's listen in.
What would we be talking about now? I mean, would you have ever gotten the chance to do something like you did?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I can tell you this, my previous experience, we'd have probably put an individual under a lot of surveillance until we could come up with something. But again, I think the legislature did the right thing by giving us a tool that we will use judiciously, but we needed that tool badly.
You mentioned this new program that the detective was able to surveil. Is this one of the first successes of this program, or have you guys had to use this tool multiple times?
It's actually the second in a very short time. So no, it's a new position that we decided we needed to step forward with, and so far the results have been outstanding.
How much ammo did he have?
My understanding is they had a couple of hundred rounds of ammunition. I don't know what the total was.
This might be for ICE, but like say you like take away the guns, you take away the weapons. If somebody is simply out of compliance with their visa, do you guys usually move that quickly with deportation proceedings?
You got that.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, it probably would not have moved that quickly. He probably would have been placed on notice, and we would have issued him a notice to appear, indicating that he needed to go before an immigration judge in order to deal with his status or lack thereof.
All right, maybe one more question, and we've got to get back to work here. Anybody else? If not, again, I just...
Yeah. A couple quick questions.
Sure.
He's in custody, so
Correct.
Where exactly is he in custody? What do you know?
I can't answer which federal facility he's in.
I mean, there are a lot of them here that are qualified to be federal facilities, but do you know where he is right now?
He is currently in ICE custody, and I'm not at liberty to discuss the exact location of where he is.
And do you know approximately what day he's set to be out here?
At that, I don't have that information at this time.
And just last question, I'm kind of, I guess I was curious, is the other gentleman who's paid yet?
Yes, sir.
Oh, can I answer your question?
Sure.
So, the situation that the chief described here obviously makes a lot of students on campus very worried. Are there collaborations going on at other universities around the country that this is part of a wave of larger surveillance to try to pick up on student activity like that?
I can't speak to what's going on around the country. I will say that anytime ATF is contacted by a local or state partnership or a federal partnership, we're prepared to be there to assist them in any way we can. Fortunately, there were some ways that we could assist the chief in this situation to ultimately, and then we needed the help of I.S.S as well, and ultimately we were able to remove the guns from this particular situation. But I don't think as a whole there's some sort of surveillance out. It's only as assistance is requested and where we can actually assist.
Do you agree with the chief's statement that a disaster would likely avert here?
Yes, I do.
What happened to the car? Curiosity. Is it just sitting somewhere like in a midtown?
I know I don't have it, so I can't answer that. We have been in touch with this young man's attorney, and they have been working out their property return and things like that. So that's all been in process over the last couple of weeks.
Does he have any priors, background?
None that I'm aware of, and wasn't on UCF's PD's radar as well either.
That photo, was that just taken during his arrest for, I guess, not being in compliance with the
That's correct. Yep.
Alrighty, guys. We'll let you guys go. We'll leave it
Again, thanks for joining us. Power of Partnerships. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks. Thanks for your help. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys, so an incident there at the University of Central Florida. Of course, not a lot of details that came out on that, and I'm sorry that camera angle was so close up, it wasn't the most clear shot. But these scenarios, are happening around as we continue to follow this type of story where we're talking about guns, we're talking about military style rifles, what should be allowed, what shouldn't. I mean, it's continued sort of talk of the world at this point. But switching it up, but continuing sort of on that theme, of course, we've been following the story about Stephon Clark, the unarmed black man who was shot multiple times, 20 times by police in Sacramento, California. There's a gathering outside where his funeral is going to be today. I know that we saw that on the list of live events today, that his funeral is today, later in the afternoon. It's going to be followed by a press conference with civil rights leaders in Sacramento, in that same area. This is a continued debate and story. I know the Attorney General of California was talking yesterday about how he's going to lead his own investigation and sort of charge into what exactly happened and really figure it out and get justice to be served if it needs to be in this case. And here is a live look at the group that is outside where his funeral will be today. Coming up in about a half hour is his funeral. It'll probably be about simultaneous to President Trump's remarks, so we'll see what we can bring to you live as that comes up. But take a look at this gathering here. I'm sure there's lots of media, lots of people in protest, and we'll try to listen in to see what some of them are saying. Lots of people making very vocal protests to some of the decisions being made in this, city council meetings, etc. I know the brother, I believe, of Mr. Clark spoke out very emphatically in a council meeting the other day, and so that was a big story, big headline, big news item as people were watching that unfold. So they're trying to keep the peace there in Sacramento, but this case is, of course, in need of more investigation, and they want justice to really be served here for Stephon Clark. So again, the crowd outside of his funeral in Sacramento, this is what you're looking at here, outside of Bayside Boss Church. That's the name of it, in Sacramento, California. Let's listen in.
Good morning. Because it is very close to our to all the agency and everything that's national. And if we have a recorder, we come out and record it, it's going to be a problem. Can we record it? Yeah, if you have it inside, you cannot direct your questions into it. I think it's going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if it's outside, everybody can do it.
Well, then our chaplains people, they already set it up. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, sorry, just that's. Yeah, that's great. They set that up, and so we at 11 right when the funeral's over. Oh, I'm in your place. I'm sorry about that, man. So.
Mike, are you supposed to answer the questions? Yeah. Perfect. I was just over here, so let's take question and answer that. Go ahead and take care of it. Thank you.
Huh.
We're live.
Gerald, real fast. Annie go? I'm sorry if I'm in your live speaking. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I mean, like, just go up on the top of this hill and walk.
So guys, obviously not quite chaotic or as rowdy yet as I believe some people are possibly expecting, but this is the crowd outside of Stephon Clark's funeral. Now I'm not quite sure if we'll have a camera just sort of circling outside or if there'll be something inside to kind of catch any of this, but obviously a lot of people not happy with the way this case is being handled or treated. I know the Attorney General yesterday of California said he's taking this case upon himself and he's going to be investigating it with himself in a private group, and it's just something that really has the whole state as well as a lot of the nation kind of up in arms, wondering what exactly happened, how this all happened, and questioning perhaps those body cameras that were reportedly turned off at some point, the audio turned off on the cameras there with this police-involved shooting. Looks like people are entering now, and so these are some of the guests of the funeral themselves. This is Bayside Boss Church in Sacramento, California. A live look outside there. When we get the camera up of the president making some remarks in Ohio, we'll see if we can take that live for you. But let's take a look here as the people enter to memorialize Stephon Clark, the 22-year-old man who was shot by police on March 18th multiple times in his backyard. This was the case where he had a cell phone in his hand. Police reportedly mistaked it for a gun and shot him dead. So this is his funeral here, guys. You can see just how many people are there. We'll try to get if we can get a wider pan of this shot, we can kind of get more of a scope of what's happening outside this church. But we'll keep our eye on this for a little bit, guys, and then jump over to Ohio for the president.
Yo, dude, we're live. We're standing right in front of us. Still boat dog. Hey, boat dog.
Oh, I am so sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to check, man. Is it the poll room? I'm right up. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. I just wanted to check. Thank you.
You would think it's a presidential candidate. Yeah.
Ashley, right? Yeah. There you go. Hey. Oh, thank you. I'm coming to where you are.
Oh, there you go. Just go back and forth.
Oh, just up there. This guy. Go punch me out. You punch me out. Anytime you like, so I can try, right? Hey, I'll take you out. So what? Absolutely. I know everything. I already got my lighting. I've already got the special lighting. I've been on the visor and organ. I got one through there. Shot some. It'd be great. Robin for an hour driving last night. know me. I'm the chill.
Guys, we're going to flip over the camera from Sacramento here, this funeral, to the reporter camera in Cleveland ahead of President Trump's speech. Take a look.
The camera for a live shot right now. As soon as that reporter clears, this should be the head-on shot for President Trump in Richfield, Ohio.
a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
La luce che tu dai,
I pray we'll find your light
nel cuore interrai,
and hold it in our hearts.
Ricordarci
When
che
stars go out each night,
l'eterna stella sei, nella mia preghiera, quanta fede
we shall feel our
All right, guys, checking in with you from the newsroom here. We're about to bring you this speech. The president speaking, touting his $1.5 trillion infrastructure proposal here to this group of workers that you can see on your screen. This is at the Richfield Training Facility in Richfield, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. We just saw the president land on that rainy day here in Ohio. You can see the workers there on the stage. They're getting ready to listen. There'll be sort of the stage background set, I guess, for the president's speech today. And we're just keeping the volume down for now, and we'll bring it back up when he does take the stage for this speech. But you can see Ivanka there in the lower left corner. She's all ready, as well as Elaine Chao. Some other members of the Trump administration are there. And looks like the president is just arriving now. So we'll bring this up for you guys and enjoy the speech.
What a group. Remember, you can't win unless you win the state of Ohio, right? You can't. And I'm thrilled to be back in Ohio, and I'm proud to be here with the incredible carpenters, laborers, all of the members of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 18. I appreciate all of you. Your support has been amazing. Your support has been so great. Right from the beginning. And each of you is living proof that American workers are truly the best in the world, right? The best. Rick Dalton and Mike Totman, thank you very much for hosting us. Where are you guys? Where are they? Where are you? Thank you, fellas. Nice looking guys. Nice looking guys. We're also pleased to be joined by two members of my cabinet, Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao, and Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta. They've done a fantastic job. We're especially happy to have some of our great Ohio leaders with us today. Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. Mary. State Auditor Dave Yost. Thank you. Congressman Bob Gibbs, Bill Johnson, and Jim Renacci. Good. Great people. Thank you. Good. Great people. Yeah, tough congressmen, I will tell you that. But they're for the workers, right? They're for the workers. They're for the country. Tell you that. They are for the country. Joined by our friends here in Ohio, my administration is fighting every day to protect and defend and grow American jobs. And you see what's happening all over the country. It's in Ohio, but it's all over the country. Pouring back plants and factories, pouring back into our country. They can't come back fast enough. Even if you look, Apple going to invest $350 billion. When I heard $350 billion, I said, you must mean $350 million. That's still a big plant. But they're going to be investing $350 billion. So many others coming back with massive amounts of money. They all want to be back in the USA. A lot of them left. They're coming back. We've eliminated a record number of job-killing regulations. That's one of the reasons they're coming back. And we're not finished yet. In some cases, you have statutory limitations where you have to go 30 days and wait, and then you have to go 90 days and wait, and then you have to go 15 days and wait, and then you go 90 days again, and then, you know what happens? We kill the regulation. And it's a thing of beauty. And we have filled out every form, every legal application, and we still actually have a long way to go on regulation. And we're going to have regulations. You need regulations for safety and for the environment, but not where you couldn't do anything, you couldn't move. So I think that's been a big, big success and a reason for our success. And we've made history by massively reducing job killing taxes. And we didn't have one Democrat who voted for that. They want to raise your taxes. And they want people to come in from the border. And they want, I can't imagine they want, but certainly drugs are flowing across borders. We need walls. We started building our wall. I'm so proud of it. We started, we have 1.6 billion. And we've already started. You saw the pictures yesterday. I said, what a thing of beauty. And on September 28th, we go further, and we're getting that sucker built. And you think that's easy? People said, oh, has he given up on the wall? No, I never give up. We have 1.6 billion toward the wall, and we've done the planning. And you saw those beautiful pictures, and the wall looks good. It's properly designed. That's what I do, is I build. I was always very good at building. It was always my best thing. I think better than being president, I was maybe good at building. Like you people, you're good at building. Yeah, I think maybe we'll be better at president, David. That would be good. But we are building a really state-of-the-art, very, very efficient. Have to be able to see through, makes a lot of sense. You have to be able to see who's on the other side. Nobody would even think of it. We've done prototypes all over, and we have something special happening. We've reversed the dangerous defense cuts, and we're giving our warfighters the tools, funding, and equipment they need to fight and to win. We have we're building up our military to the highest level it's ever been, and it was not in good shape. But it's now going to be very soon the highest level it's ever been. And by the way, that means jobs too. That's defense, always number one. Defense is number one. Even you job folks would say defense is number one. But it's a lot of jobs, millions of jobs. We've unleashed American energy independence. Energy exports are at a record high, and foreign imports are at their lowest level in much more than a decade. We've stood up for the American workers by finally cracking down on unfair trade that steals our jobs and plunders our wealth. They've stolen our wealth, they've stolen our jobs, they've stolen our plants and factories. No more. We're not letting other countries take advantage of us. Even our friends took advantage. Our friends are friends, they're wonderful people. But we said you can't do that anymore. Those days are over. Frankly, our friends did more damage to us than our enemies, because we didn't deal with our enemies. We dealt with our friends, and we dealt incompetently, because we're now finally putting America first. America first. Just this week, we secured a wonderful deal with South Korea. We were in a deal that was a horror show. It was going to produce 200,000 jobs, and it did, for them. That was a Hillary Clinton special, I hate to say it. This will produce 200,000 jobs. She was right, but it was for them. It wasn't for us. So we've redone it, and that's going to level the playing field on steel and cars and trucks coming into this country. And I may hold it up till after a deal is made with North Korea. Does everybody understand that? You know why, right? You know why? Because it's a very strong card. And I want to make sure everyone is treated fairly, and we're moving along very nicely with North Korea. We'll see what happens. Certainly, the rhetoric has calmed down just a little bit. Would you say? Would you say? And we'll see how it all turns out. Maybe it'll be good, and maybe it won't. And if it's no good, we're walking. And if it's good, we will embrace it. But it's going to be very interesting over the next period of time. And South Korea has been wonderful. But we'll probably hold that deal up for a little while. See how it all plays out. We're keeping our promises, and the results are in. 3 million new jobs since Election Day. 3 million. And if I would have said that to you during the campaign, where we had tremendous support in this great state of Ohio, if I would have said 3 million jobs, they would have said, the fake news, he's exaggerating. Oh, they're fake. Unemployment claims are at their lowest level in 45 years. Lowest level. 45 years! African American unemployment has reached the lowest levels ever recorded. Remember? Remember I said, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? And I'm so happy about that. Hispanic American unemployment rate has also reached the lowest levels ever recorded. And wages are rising at the fastest level in more than a decade. You're finally, 19 years, 21 years, people were making, last year, were making less money than they made 20 years ago. Now wages are rising because more jobs are happening. And very important, just like we're going to have choice at the VA, we're going to have choice for these great people, you're going to also have choice with jobs. You're going to have choice with jobs. Our veterans are going to have choice, and you're going to have choice with jobs. And now with our friends in Ohio, we're launching the next phase of America's economic comeback. We're going to rebuild America's crumbling infrastructure. Now, we're going to probably we have a very important election coming up, and they don't like the wins we've been getting. They don't like that the economy, the Democrats, they don't like that the economy is so strong. They don't like that they don't have one vote on the tax cuts. Not one vote. And they're all now saying, you know, those tax cuts are tough. What they're saying to each other is not pretty if you're a Democrat, and we should do well. History says that when you win the presidency, that party doesn't do so well in the midterms because people get complacent. They get complacent. We cannot be complacent. We've got the greatest economy maybe ever, maybe in history. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. You know the expression from, I guess it was Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. Well, it is the economy. If we have produced in a short period of time, because believe me, if our party, if we all together, it's we, if we didn't win, this economy would be a wreck. They would have added more regulations. You wouldn't have 3 million jobs. You'd probably go negative. Your 3.2 GDPs and 3 and 2.9 would have been below, in my opinion, would have been below 1. This country was headed in the wrong direction. We can't lose that by getting hurt in the midterms. So we can't be complacent. There's never been an economy like this. Everyone says it's the most important thing. And I don't know that it is or that it isn't. But politically, they always say it's the most important thing. We cannot let anything happen to stop what we're doing and where we're going. And all of the workers and all of the jobs, we want to keep them. And we want to protect our Second Amendment. You saw the other day, we're a very important... We're a very important and respected, in some circles, Democrat, said we should get rid of our Second Amendment. In other words, get rid of it. That's really, could be right about that. So we're going to protect our Second Amendment. That's not going to happen. We have the best judges. We put on a tremendous amount of great federal district court judges. We'll be setting records. We are setting records. Appeals court judges, Supreme Court judge, fantastic, Justice Gorsuch. And we'll continue. But your Second Amendment will always be your Second Amendment. We're not doing anything to that. Not doing anything. We will breathe new life into your very rundown highways, railways, and waterways. We'll transform our roads and bridges from a source of endless frustration into a source of absolutely incredible pride. And we're going to do it all under budget and ahead of schedule. You ever hear those words in the public world? Under budget and ahead of schedule. And, you know, one of the things, and I just want to go on a little detour for a second, one of the things that wasn't mentioned by the folks in the back that we got recently in the bill was school safety. And the Stop School Violence Act was passed. That's the Sandy Hook people, the great people of Sandy Hook. They wanted it so badly. That was done. We fixed very strongly the background checks. We got rid of the bump stocks. The bump stocks now are under very strict control, which I think everybody agrees it's fine. And we really did a job. Nobody reported it. Doesn't get reported. If somebody else does it, it's like a big story. But it didn't. And you know, fixing the background checks was so important. And it's a very, very strong fix of background checks. So I wanted to add that while we talk about infrastructure, while we talk about school safety, so important, but while we talk about all of these other things, that was part of what we got approved. And another part, so important for Ohio, because I know you have a bigger problem than most, is opioids and drugs. We got $6 billion that nobody talked about. $6 billion. $6 billion to fight the opioid problem and the drug problem. So it's another thing. And we got the down payment, $1.6 billion on the wall, and we got a lot of other things. Frankly, if we had more Republican votes, we wouldn't have had to give away what we gave away, which many of the people in this room, including me, don't like, because it was a waste in many cases. But the Democrats want things. They don't want to focus on crime and borders and people pouring into our country, many of whom are not the people we want to come in. We want a merit-based immigration system. We want people to come in on merit, not based on a lottery. You pick a ticket. So there's no better place to begin the campaign of infrastructure than right here in Ohio at the state-of-the-art training site. They've done a fantastic job right in this building, where the awesome skills of the American worker are forged and refined. It's true. I've been in construction and building all my life. I love it. I love the smell of a construction site, right? There's just something about it. And, you know, we didn't always get, although in this case we did nicely, but we didn't always get the union leadership or the big unions, but we got the workers. We got the workers. And some of those leaders had big problems because the workers were with Trump. Because they know I hired the Teamsters, thousands of Teamsters, and I hired all of the carpenters and the electricians and all of the people that built a lot of buildings in Manhattan and all over the place. And they got it. The workers got it. And now I think the leadership is actually getting it. I really believe that. I think the leadership is getting it. Because you're going to have a great friend, and now I've proven. You know, before I used to say you're going to have a friend, but now I've proven you've got a friend in the White House. That's why we're building all of these projects. So many of these projects which were just dead projects, like the Keystone Pipeline. It was dead. It wasn't going anywhere. Hillary wasn't going to approve it. Nobody was. It was a dead project. I got in almost like right at the beginning. I approved that Keystone XL pipeline. and I approved the Dakota Access Pipeline, both of them. 48,000 jobs, environmentally great. There's like, it was nothing, it was quick, it was easy, and it was done properly. And they'll be flowing in, and that's better than trucking over the roads. That's better than any other way. And it wasn't going to get approved. There were so many jobs like that. You know those two because they were getting a lot of attention. You know the amazing thing? I approved them. I thought would have like some commotion, right? Some commotion, like some protest. Nobody. I approved it. The pickets, they picked up their stuff and they left. That was the end of it. They left a mess, I have to tell you. You know about the mess. Became an environmental wasteland, what they left. You know about that. But I approved it and they left. We did that on a lot of things. Whether it's Jerusalem, where we approved Jerusalem, that was a big thing. Every politician was in support, and then they became president, and guess what? All of a sudden it was Jerusalem. I don't know anything about Jerusalem. They didn't want to know about it. Well, I fulfilled my campaign promises, and I have to tell you, I believe, and a couple of people have said it, and it's very early yet. You know, we're only into about 15 months, but I think I've approved much more than I've promised, and no politician. I have gotten done much more than I promised. I promised certain things. We've done a lot of things that I didn't even promise because I figured it couldn't happen. And now, with so many of our great secretaries and leaders, we're doing incredible things on health care because Obamacare is a disaster. We got rid of the, as you know, the individual mandate, which forced you to spend money for the privilege of not having to pay for health insurance. Okay, you figure that one out. It's gone, folks. It's gone. It's gone. And Anacostia, Secretary of Labor, is doing an incredible plan for co-ops and for various different elements where you go in and you get together as a group and you're going to get incredible health care, highly bid. You're going to get so many different bids from, and you're going to have great health care at a very, very low price. It's going to be a lot of people signing up, and that's going to be out over the next couple of months, Alex, right? You've been working on it, and it's going to come out. Nobody even thought of it. Co-ops and all sorts of people, they're going to get together, and they're going to buy their health care together, and it's going to be so inexpensive, it's a thing of beauty. That's going to be a big percentage of Obamacare, too, big percentage. And we have other things. We have other things. Nearly 40% of our bridges were built before, think of this, before the first moon landing. You know, you go to some countries, they're building bridges all over the place. All over, you have bridges going up. One particular country, I won't use it because they're very friendly to me. They weren't friendly to us as a nation, but now they're friendly to me. They're building 29 bridges. We don't build bridges like very much anymore. A little bit every once in a while. But our roads are clogged. We have average drivers spend 42 hours every year stuck in traffic, costing us at least $160 billion annually. Our mass transit systems are a mess. They're dilapidated and they're decayed. Nationwide, we average 300 power outages per year, compared to just 5 per year in the 1980s. A total mess. And a lot of it is because some of these power companies, they have the money. They have the wherewithal. They couldn't get their approvals. They couldn't get their permits. For years and years and years, they're trying to get permits. Now they get them really fast. Now they're getting them so fast. One man told me, what the hell happened? We've been fighting for years. All of a sudden I got a call. We just were approved. We didn't even try. And some consultants are going to be making a lot of money. They're going to say, sir, we need $2 million for the great job we did on getting you approved. They didn't do a damn thing. Except Trump got elected. That's about all. That's about all. How I tell this because, you know, being a builder, we can all talk as friends. We're all builders in this room. Look at these people back there. You better believe they're builders. They're builders, no game. But I tell the story about Keystone where years and years, you've watched it, years and years they spent hundreds of millions of dollars. They were even ordering their pipe. Everything's going great. They're going to build. It's years, but they're happy. They don't get approved. They spend billions on pipe. They ordered the pipe, and they're not getting approved. So anyway, so that was dead for a couple of years and no chance. I get elected. I approve it almost like in the first day, right at the very beginning. And I just say to myself, can you imagine the boss of whatever the hell company it is, who never actually called me to say thank you, but that's okay. We'll remember. So this guy's sitting behind this beautiful chair in a certain place. I know exactly where. Nice place. Big company. And the consultants march into his office to tell him what a great job they did. They were dead. They had no chance. They failed. I got it approved. And I did it because it's 48,000 jobs between the two of them. And I did it because it's also better. It's better. Sir, I believe we're entitled to a $10 million fee for that. Oh, those people. And they're probably Democrats. Can you believe it? Probably not for long, however. In recent years, Americans have watched as Washington spent trillions and trillions of dollars building up foreign countries while allowing our own country's infrastructure to fall into a state of total disrepair. Look at Korea. We have a border at Korea. We have a wall of soldiers. We don't get paid very much for this, do we? You look at that, nobody comes through. But our own border, we don't take care of it. Think of it. We spend billions of dollars in other countries maintaining their borders, and we can't maintain our borders in our own country. Is there something a little bit wrong with that? Think of it. We spend billions and billions of dollars. Look, North and South Korea, 32,000 soldiers. The finest equipment, barbed wire all over the place. We protect that whole thing. Nobody comes through, but our country, we don't do it. Things are changing, folks. But now is the time to rebuild our country, to take care of our people, and to fight for our great American workers for a change. We spent, and I was against it from the beginning. They try and say, well, maybe not. I was against it from the beginning. And by the way, we're knocking the hell out of I.S.S. We'll be coming out of Syria like very soon. Let the other people take care of it now. Very soon. Very soon we're coming out. We're going to have 100% of the caliphate, as they call it, sometimes referred to as land, taking it all back quickly. But we're going to be coming out of there real soon. Going to get back to our country, where we belong, where we want to be. But just think of it. We spent, as of 3 months ago, $7 trillion, not billion, not million, 7 trillion with a T. Nobody ever heard of the word trillion until 10 years ago. We spent $7 trillion in the Middle East. We'd build a school, they'd blow it up. We'd build it again, they'd blow it up. We'd build it again. Hasn't been blown up yet, but it will be. But if we want a school in Ohio to fix the windows, you can't get the money. If you want a school in Pennsylvania or Iowa to get federal money, you can't get the money. We spent $7 trillion in the Middle East. And you know what we have for it? Nothing. Remember, I used to say, keep the oil. As a civilian, I used to say, did anybody hear me say that? That's before I decided to go on this journey with all of you. I got tired of watching. I used to say, keep the oil. We never kept the oil. If we kept the oil, we would have been okay. If we kept the oil, we wouldn't have I.S.S. Because you know who kept a lot of the oil? I.S.S. That's how they funded themselves. They kept the oil. We didn't keep the oil. Stupid. Stupid. But we spent $7 trillion, but we barely have money for the infrastructure. We have to fight for our military. But we're becoming so strong again. And you watch. Not going to take very long. I've asked Republicans and Democrats in Congress to come together and deliver the biggest and boldest infrastructure plan in the last half century. I don't think you're going to get Democrat support very much, and you'll probably have to wait till after the election, which isn't so long down the road. But we're going to get this infrastructure going. The plan generates an unprecedented $1.5 trillion investment in American infrastructure. We probably have to wait till after the election. Because the Democrats say, don't give him any more wins. Don't give him any more wins. Regulations, cut taxes, Supreme Court, judges all over the place. You know, when I got in, we had over 100 federal judges that weren't appointed. Now, I don't know why Obama left that. It was like a big, beautiful present to all of us. Why the hell did he leave that? Maybe he got complacent. But now we have about 145 federal district judges. We have 17 Court of Appeals judges. And as I said, we have the one Supreme Court judge. But think of 145 district judges. That's world-changing, country-changing, USA-changing, and we're going all out. We have unbelievably talented, smart, great people being put in those slots. But we were left the present. I never said this before. It was like the gift from heaven. We were left judges. They're the ones that judge on your disputes. They judge on what's fair on the environment and what's not fair, where they're going to take your farms and factories away and where they're not. Amazing. It was the gift. Thank you very much, President Obama. We all appreciate it. Thank you. What happened? How did he do that? How did he do that? We're going to be repairing roads, delivering clean water, and we're going to have crystal clean water. We're going to have clean, beautiful air. But we're not going to pay $1 trillion to be in the Paris Accord, where it puts us way back, where we are put at such a tremendous disadvantage. That was a disaster for this country. We couldn't use the kind of assets that we have. We would have had to close up factories and companies in order to qualify. We would have had to pay large amounts of money to other countries because they were developing. As far as I'm concerned, we're developing. Pay us some money, right? Pay us. We're developing. Maybe we'll call it we're redeveloping, because we're redeveloping. But it was unfair. We're going to be investing in our workers and improving our healthcare facilities for our incredible veterans. We're making some changes that are good. And we've made a lot of progress with the veterans, but I want to get them choice. And they didn't give us choice. The Democrats didn't want the vets to have choice. When the vets are online, because there's a 25-day wait, there's a 6-month wait. Guys are online and women. They're vets, they're great, they're our greatest people. And they got a problem. And it could be fixed. By the time they see the doctor, it's over. It's over. Not going to happen. We're going to have real choice. That's why I made some changes, because I wasn't happy with the speed with which our veterans were taken care of. I wasn't happy with it. And we made a lot of progress. The Accountability Act. For years they've been trying to get it. For decades they've been trying to get VA accountability. When somebody does a bad job in the Veterans Administration, they couldn't do anything about it. They were protected. You could do anything. They had sadists that treated our vets horribly, horribly, worse than a movie. They had people that wouldn't work. You couldn't do anything. I had passed the VA accountability, they're accountable, the Accountability Act. And now when they're bad to our vets or when they're not working for our vets, we say, hey, Jim, you're fired. Get out of here, Jim. Get out. Get out. That was a big deal. That was a big deal. No accountability. We got that passed. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. But I'm doing that for the vets, and we made changes because we want them taken care of. We want them to have choice so that they can run to a private doctor and take care of it. And it's going to get done. Thank you, honey. It's going to get done. We'll always protect the people that have protected us. We have to. And that goes for law enforcement. We're going to protect our law enforcement, our military, our vets, right? The plan I've outlined in Congress is built on 4 key principles. It can be passed in one bill or in a series of measures. What matters is that we get the job done. First, we'll invest in the American worker. My Council of Economic Advisors estimates that our plan will create up to 400,000 new infrastructure jobs almost immediately. For workers without a college degree, these jobs offer wages that are 32% higher than other occupations. These are great people, great workers, and they're great paying jobs. I also want more Americans to learn from the best, just like you have really learned, the people in this room, so many of them, you've learned from the best. Local 18's groundbreaking apprenticeship program. True. True. Has become one of the largest anywhere in America. And we want to replicate your success all across the country, and we're studying exactly what you've done here. That's why I'm asking Congress to improve federal student aid to include high-quality, short-term training programs that equip Americans to succeed in construction and the skilled trades. A word that you don't hear much, but when I was growing up, we had what was called vocational schools. They weren't called community colleges, because I don't know what that means, a community college. To me, it means a 2-year college. I don't know what it means. But I know what vocational, and I tell people, call it vocational from now on. It's a great word. It's a great word. Call it vocational and technical, perhaps. But use vocational, because that's what it's all about. People know what that means. We don't know what a community college means. We want every American to know the dignity of work, the pride of a paycheck, and the satisfaction of a job well done. And speaking of a job well done, we have 2 of my daughters here today. Ivanka, who's working hard on infrastructure, Ivanka, and Tiffany. America's greatest treasure is our people, and I saw that during the campaign. They came from everywhere. Remember, they said there's no way that Donald Trump can get the people. They had people that they didn't know existed. Now the Democrats are trying to figure out who the hell you are. You know who you are? You're hard-working people. You work your asses off, and you got sick and tired of the people that you were supposed to be voting for, and you stopped. But you came out for us, and you know what? Now you're very happy, because this was a movement like they've never seen before. They've never seen any movement like this, and I appreciate it, and you're going to appreciate it. You already do. Thank you. We will completely transform the horrible and costly and broken permitting process. The current permitting system is a disaster, takes forever. It adds tremendous costs and years of endless delay to infrastructure projects all across the country. As just one example of how broken the system is, Secretary Chow recently gave a final approval to an environmental review in Alaska that started all the way back in 1975. It's been going on for more than 40 years, and we just got it, right? Just got it, Elaine. Just got it. In fact, the people of Alaska, they couldn't believe it. They said, "We don't believe it." They said, "You got it. We'll get rid of the bureaucracy that wastes time and kills jobs." We had a highway in a certain wonderful state that was going to be a quick, easy road to build. That was 17 years ago. It was going to cost a very small amount of money, a couple of $1 million. It ends up costing close to $300 million. Got their approvals recently. The road is no longer a straight shot. It's now, wah. Not good if you're not feeling so good behind the wheel. Got to make another turn. They had to take care of all the nesting. It's cost a lot of money and took many years. It's out of control, and we're going to stop that nonsense. We're going to stop it. Under our plan, every project will have one point of contact that will deliver one decision, yes or no, for the entire federal government. Yes or no? You have to go through different agencies. You go through labor. You go through transportation. You go through another one, EPA, where we've really streamlined the system, where we have really made it possible for people to get things done. So many projects are under construction right now that would never, ever in a million years have gotten built. And guess what? We also turn down projects if they're wrong. We know if they're wrong. They know if they're wrong. We turn down projects. But if you get turned down, you get turned down quickly. You don't go along for 15 or 18 or 22 years. I mean, some people have spent an entire lifetime trying to get a project approved, and they don't get it approved. And their working career is like mostly over. That can't be a good feeling, right? How about that? Can't be a good feeling. But if you get turned down, we're going to say it. America built the Empire State Building in 1 year. Think of it. 1 year. It's actually like 9 months. Can you believe that? Tallest building in the world at the time. Now it can take 10 years just to get permits to build a roadway, a tunnel, even in some cases a building. And that's an insult to America's great building heritage, and we will not accept it, and we're changing it rapidly. It's already been changed. We're going to do even better. I hope to get it down to a 1 year period. We have a lot of them down to 2 years now, but it's from 2 years from 20 and 18 and 15 and 12. But we're going to try getting it down even quicker. We're going to protect the environment and cut the permit approval time, and we're going to get things done. We're going to get them built, or we're going to tell you, no good for the environment, sorry, don't bother. But for the most part, it's going to happen. We're going to provide a $50 billion commitment to build infrastructure in rural communities, which are too often left behind. They've been forgotten. They've been forgotten. We're going to spend a lot of money on the rural communities that have not been taken care of, and these are incredible people. These are hard-working people, and they haven't been taken care of by the Democrats. These funds will help ensure that every community is connected and has access to modern infrastructure, including broadband internet, which has been left out. Very unfair. Fourth and finally, we'll expand the reach of federal dollars through smart state and local partnerships. We're going to have some really smart partnerships. Our plan calls for a new incentive program that provides billions of dollars in federal funding to projects in which states and local governments and The private sector are willing to invest their own resources as well as the federal government. So there'll be an incentive to get things done and get things done properly and in the right location and the right bridge or road or tunnel or whatever you are going to build. By combining federal tax dollars with the resources of state and local governments and partnering with the private sector, this incentive program will kickstart funding needed to build new projects and repair existing ones. The first elements of this plan have already been put in place. We have made so much progress. It's not progress that you read about or hear about. Of course, if it were, they wouldn't print it anyway, but that's okay. They don't do that. I've signed an executive order to speed up permitting and to expand the rural broadband. We're cutting through mountains of red tape. We've secured more funding for highways, airports, railroads, and our nation's water infrastructure. In addition to the $1.6 billion for the wall, we've got $21 billion approved for infrastructure in the current bill that a lot of people don't hear about. We've obtained from Congress an additional $2 billion to improve veterans' medical facilities. That's everything they wanted. $2 billion for the veterans. Congress now has the opportunity to build on this momentum and to act on a common sense plan that will make our economy stronger, our roads faster, and our families safer. We want a safe country. We want safety. It's a plan for building a stronger America. For most of our history, American infrastructure was the envy of the world. True. Go back 30, 40, 50 years, they would look at us like, now we are like, in many cases, a third world country. It's an embarrassment. And we're the ones that had the imagination and the drive to get it done. But we've got that again. Other nations marveled as we connected our shores with transcontinental railroads and brought power to our cities that lit up the sky like no other place on earth and built mile after mile of internet capabilities and interstate highways to carry American products all across the country and around the globe. Nobody did it like us. We dug out the Panama Canal. Think of that. Thousands of lives were lost to the mosquito. To the mosquito, malaria. We dug out the Panama Canal. We transformed our skylines with towering works of concrete and steel and laid the foundation for the modern economy. To rebuild this nation, we must reclaim that proud heritage. Have to reclaim it. And we're on our way. We must recapture the excitement of creation, the spirit of innovation, and the spark of invention. We're starting. You saw the rocket the other day. You see what's going on with cars. You see what's going on with so much. NASA, space agency, all of a sudden it's back. Do you notice? It was dormant for many, many years. Now it's back. And we're trying to have the private sector invest the money. Why the hell should we do it, right? Let them invest. If they want to send rocket ships up, they're rich. Let them do it. When I looked at the rocket that went up 3 weeks ago, where the tanks came back, nobody's ever seen it. It looks like Star Wars. But I looked at it, and I heard the cost. I think they said $85 million. If the government did that, you're talking about billions of dollars, and maybe it wouldn't work so well. But I thought it was a fantastic thing. But we're working with the private sector and NASA, and we're doing a great job. We've made so much progress in the last year. Don't forget, it's just been a little bit more than a year. But we've made so much progress, and other people are putting up a lot of money. They're using our facilities. I feel like a landlord again. We're leasing them facilities. Not so bad, not a bad idea. And they're doing a great job. America is a nation like you of builders. It's a nation of pioneers, a nation that accepts no limits, no hardship, and never, ever gives up. We don't give up. We don't give up. We will tear down every obstacle, break down every barrier, and stare down every challenge, because our hearts, they bleed red, white, and blue, and we love our great American flag, don't we? Right? Anything we can dream, you can build. You will create the new highways, the new dams and skyscrapers that will become lasting monuments to American strength and continued greatness. You will forge new American steel into the spine of our country. You will cement the foundation of a glorious American future, and you will do it all with those beautiful American hands, powerful heart, and powerful American pride, right? Powerful American pride. You are the ones who share our shaping and our destiny. You are the ones who are restoring our prosperity and our pride. You're restoring pride in this country again. Our country had very little pride. Look back, see what was happening. Our country had very little pride. You look at what's going on in California, Orange County, they've had it. There's a revolution going on out there. Sanctuary cities where they protect criminals, they protect murderers, they protect people that you don't want on the streets. Other places in California said, we don't want that. First time they're speaking up. Even look at Roseanne. I called her yesterday. Look at her ratings. Look at her ratings. I got a call from Mark Burnett. He did The Apprentice. He's a great guy. He said, Donald, I called just to say hello and to tell you. Did you see Roseanne's ratings? I said, Mark, how big were they? They were unbelievable. Over 18 million people. And it was about us. They haven't figured it out. The fake news hasn't quite figured it out yet. They have not figured it out. So that was great. And they haven't figured it out. But they will. And when they do, they'll become much less fake. May take a while, but it's happening. But you're the ones who are truly making America great again. We're going to work together. We're going to work with the state of Ohio. We're going to work with everybody. And we're going to bring our country to a level of success and prominence and pride like it has never, ever seen before. Thank you, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, so obviously that was the latest from President Trump there in Richfield, Ohio. That's a Richfield Training Facility, talking about his infrastructure plan, throwing in a few jokes there, of course, and even referencing that Elon Musk Falcon Heavy launch that we also streamed a few weeks ago. If you missed that stream, definitely go back and check it out. It's one of our favorite ones here, live in the newsroom, watching it with you here, and even a reference to President Trump's call to Roseanne yesterday. We were talking about that this morning on the morning show, so a couple of pop culture references in there as well. But of course, what we expect from President Trump there, a little bit improv, a little bit of a speech as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching it today and that you've enjoyed our stream. We're live in the newsroom every day at 11:30, so subscribe with us here, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. We'll let you roll out with this exit from this facility here, and then pop up those DC Eagles that everyone's talking about that we've been watching. on the Anacostia River, guys. So long. We'll see you tomorrow.